So this little gem here I managed to scoop up a couple of days ago from my spouse Arlene's good friend Vicky, who purchased this new a number of years ago. According to the serial number, this guitar was left the production line July 1st, 1980, the 156th FG331 off the line. Rare to find one of these like this. The neck is true and straight on it, no issues at all with the neck. The truss works fine, hardly a mark on it. The made in Japan tuners are precise and they're phenomenal tuners. Stays in tune great. It's got a 1 11/16 nut, rosewood fretboard, rosewood bridge, urea or plastic saddle and nut. The frets, I polished the frets up on it. There is no overlap on the side at all. So the fret job originally was just done perfectly. There has been no overlap on those at all. I did add some oil for the fretboard. It was a little bit dry, so I oiled that up. And the neck itself, I got it at 2.25 millimeter at the 12th with 0.008 neck relief. And it's a ply spruce top, ply mahogany or NATO back and sides on it, and as you can see, the neck is just extremely straight. The neck brace and all that is tight. There is no imperfections at all in that. Couple of scrapes and dings. I shined it up with my guitar wax and took some of there was no patina on the tuners at all, which was pretty amazing, although it also came with the original Yamaha hard case, which is a, rudimentary case they made in those days. It's, I wouldn't recommend you take that case on the road. However, served the purpose because obviously this guitar stayed in the case the majority of its life. And Yamaha consistently tests for humidity. So they're one of the few guitars when it comes to humidity, you don't have to worry as much as other guitars. They test for that in extreme conditions. And this is perfect proof that after 44 years, if they're properly maintained and kept in a case, which is the best place to keep them, if they're, don't leave them in the corner or, out on a stand all the time, put them back in the case because it offers a lot of protection from elements that can, get your neck to be warp or go wrong or your top to, become defective. Which is a lot of cost in repairs. I think the bracing is just a standard bracing, and a rare for a guitar this old too. Like the serial numbers, like they just stamped it. A lot of the older ones I get, you're looking, is that a 0? Is it a 3? They get smudged. This one is, in fact, right there. Inside of the guitar is clean. There is no overlap. You don't hear anything. I never heard anything when I shook it. I did have to do, as I mentioned, some of the setup. A lot of Yamahas I've changed out bone and put bone, nut, and saddles in. But a lot of times with Yamahas, I'll go back to the original they put on them. They just seem to work. And I find a lot of times when you do saddles or nuts or both with bone, that in some cases, especially with laminate guitars, it makes the guitar too bright. So with the plastic, it seems to warm them up better. Now on a all wood guitar or solid wood Yamahas, I found that the bone, nut, and saddles do add a lot. It's kind of the opposite. It gives it a lot more warmth and sustain. But with these older ones, not so much the case. The guitar absolutely rings, as you could. The intonation on them is bang on. Little sharp on this E and A. That's normal on a lot of acoustic guitars. Generally, that's always the hardest two strings to try to get bang on. However, I did do some acoustic tracks with rhythm tracks and added an overlay of some lead on it, and it sounded perfectly in tune everywhere that you play. And generally, when you're doing the lead, you're not on those lower strings anyway. You're more up here, to get the. But as you can see, the sustain is just amazing. Now I always use on most of my acoustic Alexer 8020 light gauge guitar strings. The phosphor bronze, I find them a little too bright for my liking. They're fine though. I mean, whatever people prefer or how you play I just always like the 80-20s a little better. I find them a little warmer, and I get a little more tone out of them, but it depends how, there's a lot of variables in there, but that's normally what I use on. I find the new Fender coated strings are good as well. I like the Dario XS are a good string as well. And then just the old Ernie balls are acoustic, the regular ones, I don't know what they're called, slinkies or whatever they're called. They're also a good string, although you get a lot more fret noise and they don't last nearly as long, but they do, you know, they do the trick for a less expensive string. I use an Aston Origin mic, just straight into it, as you can see, about 2 feet away, and there's no effects on this at all. So, you know, I don't, you could pretty that up if you're doing your tracks, you know, add a little guitar reverb or some limiting or some compression, you know, some tricks that people use to give a richer, fuller, hi-fi sound, but this is just bare bones basics, so you can kind of get an indication of the overall strength of the guitar. As I said, rare to find one in this kind of condition, and I use these, they're Black Mountain thumb picks, and if you haven't tried these, give these a try, because these are little gems of picks, and I think you can get 3 of them for like 20 bucks. But I really like them for finger picking because they're like a traditional pick, but they're on this, so you can kind of get the best of both worlds. Like if you need to strum, you can go from strumming, and then if you want a finger pick, which I always find it's good to have something on the thumb because it pushes that string a little brighter in the mixture with just the, so. Kind of gives you a little bit of percussion on the bottom end there. Strum with them, they have a nice warm tone. I get the medium. I found the light was a little too twingy for them, not a lot of strength in the way I finger pick anyway. The heavy was just way too heavy, so I just go with the medium ones. But as you can hear with the capo, and I've checked through recording and even with my my online tuner, and it's still in tune. So that's a good indication with a guitar when you can play it and you're still in concert tuning when you throw a capo on. And I just use the regular Kaiser capos. They're simple, they go on and off. It's like, you know, there's more higher end, complicated, precision, you know, things, but I always like the kind of the quick way to do what you got to do. Now I know some of the other tuners, they're more precise. The tuning may hold a little more, and it's especially important when you're recording, is to always pay attention to your tuning or anything in general at all times. Like your tuning is the most important thing because it affects everything. So, you know, always take the time to make sure your guitar is in tune, and then makes everything go easier. Like you can hear that. I mean, you can even go up. I never tried this until now, but if I were to go, is it this one? Like, if you want to kind of sound like a 6-string mandolin. So if you see one of these around, and generally you can get them for like a one in bad shape. I have another one too. That was in bad shape, and it would need a neck reset. It still sounds phenomenal, but up here it's like 3.5 millimeters, and the neck is max, the saddle's max, so it definitely needs a neck reset. And what you want to do if you're checking a neck, a simple thing I do is you can get these rulers for next to nothing. They're true, they're straight. Well, they're close enough for what you need to do for this. And if you get a guitar or you're looking at an acoustic, if you take one of these with you, and you set that right like this on your fretboard, I can get this between the strings here, and then you go up to here, as you can see here, that will go right up to the bottom of the saddle, and that tells you that that neck is straight, okay? And then you know, I mean, I've looked at guitars and I'll take this along, and this will go way down here like that. And you know that nothing you're going to do with that neck is going to fix that. You're either going to do a neck reset, you're going to have to shave this all off, lower the set, it means the neck is pretty much toast as far as setting it up with intonation, proper playability, the whole. So always very inexpensive. Take this with you, and that's how you check that. And that's one of the most important things to check, because if that neck is straight and true, normally the truss rods will work, because the majority of people that have guitars don't play them, want to sell them. They don't check any of these things. And with that truss rod, you'll be able to adjust that guitar so that it plays as best as it's going to play. So always try to keep an eye on those little things like that. And, you know, check too, if you're looking at a guitar and this saddle, the top part that the strings go over, is extremely low and there's no play in it, that's also an indication that probably that guitar is maxed out. Now, the older guitars, a lot of them, they'll play fine for years. If you look after them, it's not, I'm not saying it's a deal killer. However, if someone's asking $500 for a guitar and you check those things and you're like, okay, offer them $250, because a neck reset can cost you anywhere from $400 to $1,000, even upwards, because a lot of times they have to put all new frets in it. Yamaha necks are extremely hard to get off, the older ones, because of the glue they used. And to tell you the truth, a lot of luthiers won't even touch them because they can't ever seem to get the neck off without having to refret, and it becomes very expensive. And when you're looking at a very inexpensive guitar, it's not worth the hassle. But in this case, as I said, I really lucked out on this guitar because they play beautifully, they sound beautiful, you can get the resonance come right into your chest from them. And as I said, it's all laminate with the ply spruce top. Now this isn't the same as they use on the newer guitars when they say you know, that's why Yamaha now traditionally will use the solid tops, which is an extremely good bonus. But back in those days when they had their plywood spruce top, basically it all worked. And the laminates they used on the back and sides, as you can see by this one, and the sound that it projects and the warmth, they're not made to be played hard. They're not like a dreadnought. So, you know, you don't want to be coming right onto them hard. They're made to be more quiet instrument and more subtle. So anyway, if you see one of these anywhere you go and it's in half decent shape, pick one up. You will not be disappointed. And if you don't know how to set a guitar up or do anything, go to some YouTube channels. Dave's World of Fun Stuff is a guy I always go to, because anything I get an area, I'm like, how do I do that? You'll find it with that guy. It's in layman's terms, very simple. You don't need a lot of tools, and it makes all the world of difference in your instrument, is having a proper setup, and you'll notice the difference right away. And almost any guitar that has a true neck and parts that are full, not broken or not whatever, you can pretty much make anything sound quite decent with that setup. And as I said, if you're not playing the guitar for a period of time, or you're not, keep it in the case. Just throw it in the case. Don't leave it in the corner. If you are going to lay it on something, always lay it like with the strings down, right? Because it doesn't put pressure on your neck, because that heel joint takes that away. Do not lean it like this in the corner, because it'll bow over time with humidity and all the changes. So anyway, get a little off track there, as I tend to do. But if you see one of those guitars, pick it up. I all hope you have a great year coming up. Enjoy yourself. Keep playing. Keep smiling. Be nice to people. And just be happy. Thanks, everybody.